until we shift it, we're operating from programming from childhood. So if your parents had issues with money, or if you had a parent who felt like a failure, or if you had parents who, I don't know, like decided that they could never have their dreams realized or whatever, like you're going to be operating from that programming until you consciously shift it. So no amount of affirmations or spending a lot of money is going to change that. But if you are like dedicated and willing to continuously go deep and do the inner work, then that energy will back up those decisions that you make, right? So, and it's not like I'm making the decision as the version of me 10 years from now. I'm making the decision as like the next level me, like the version of me that I'm stepping into next. So it's not like I'm like, okay, and I'm going to be a millionaire. Let me spend like a millionaire. No, it's more like, okay, the next level version of me wants to be, you know, investing this much money in a coach. The next level version of me wants to be investing in PR. Right. Yeah. And so like when I signed on with you, that was not something that I even necessarily thought was possible. But then when I saw, well, I felt the alignment with you, but I also was like, okay, like this feels like my next level. Does it feel like my now level? No, but it feels like my next level. So by me saying yes to that, I then automatically step into my next level.
Yep. And recently I was talking about how, well, I don't have I can make the funds work, but I don't know if I have it now and all of this stuff. And that's me making decisions in my now, not making decisions in my next level. So if I were to have the support, I would create more space to bring in more money, et cetera, et cetera. But that's a natural next step for me. So I think that's so important to hear. And actually, while we're on this podcast right now, I'm thinking about like how my apartment credit card debt was a block for this apartment and furnishing this one. It's just nonstop. I can't have a conversation with you without having another like aha moment. I'm like, and in real time, ladies and gentlemen, this is how it happens. But it really is amazing. And what I noticed too is like the work is not as scary as I thought. For the longest time, I'm like going deep. Like, what is this deep dark hole? But it's really, if anything, what I've noticed is we already have experience. And I don't want to say this because, you know, like everybody has different types of trauma, micro and macro, but I know my past, I know what I experienced. And so for me personally, when I was starting to go into the metamorphosis and go into these different stages of my childhood and really uncover, it was more awarenesses than anything. Like, yes, some of it was a little sad to be like, oh yeah, that was like a realization that I had to come to terms with. But also, if anything, it was liberating and it was an exciting moment. So when we started going through the metamorphosis, I went through it twice. And both times I was like, oh, finally, I figured out the route to this. So now I can create something new in my life now. And it doesn't have to be this way forever. So it became like almost an exciting thing as opposed to something that was really hard and difficult and sad. And what I think is beautiful about Elise's work is I was also very, very afraid of breath work for whatever reason.
A lot of people are. I
was like, am I going to like pass out? Why is it even a thought? Anyway. And then I was nervous about it. So I was like, what if something comes up that I'm not prepared for? And I felt like the breath work that you teach to this day, I feel like it's almost like a warm blanket of like it puts you in a relaxing state. And it's not something that you need to fear is basically what I want to say. And this is coming from somebody who was afraid of it.
I love that. I love that you mentioned that. And also just about the metamorphosis too, because I feel like so many people, that's actually why I took the curriculum of the metamorphosis off of my sales page, is because people will be like, oh my God, that sounds horrible. I don't want to look at my relationship with my mother. I don't want to look at my relation with my father or my siblings. But like, if you want anything in life, you have to. Like, that's just the bottom line. But I love that you brought up that it wasn't like excruciating, right? Because
No.
it doesn't, you don't have to go back and feel every little thing that ever happened. All we have to do is like get to kind of the core thing. And of course, there's emotions that come up at times. And like, I think one of the great things about the work that I do too is like, I'll see when you're not feeling an emotion and I'll be like, okay, you need to go back and like allow yourself to feel this. But it's not like the whole time you're like sobbing or anything. It's just like, okay, I can feel that there's some sadness that needs to be released around this.
Yeah. And at first, too, I had all of these questions of, am I doing this right? And this also is a perfectionist thing, which we uncovered as well. But for a while, I was like, am I doing this right? Does this make sense? And then at the beginning, too, I remember I was like, Elise, so I decided that I'm going to go for walks instead and listen to the breath work because, which was really just me feeling like so uncomfortable about the idea of laying down and doing breath work. She's like, oh, okay, well, you could do that for a little while, but you should probably like do it for real. And so, so it's definitely a process, and give yourself some grace, like give yourself a lot of grace. It took me a long time to even feel comfortable feeling my own emotions, which I didn't know that I had. Because I'm a pretty sensitive person. I can cry very easily at the sight of a Disney movie. So the fact that I couldn't feel my own emotions for like really traumatic experiences that happened to me as a kid was something that I didn't realize. And also by Elise giving me a safe space to be able to experience that. And when you're in the metamorphosis too, you're doing this in your own time. And then if you do join a certain level, you can do the support calls and everything, which I highly recommend. The support calls are like next level. For a while, I was concerned and nervous about like my being in my own space and allowing myself to feel my own emotions, and it's okay to do that. No one's watching you. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I think it is really important.
Once people shift their trauma, they understand their gifts on a much deeper level, and they like understand exactly what they're meant to do on such a deeper level. So can you like describe how like maybe you went from thinking it was this to thinking to now knowing like what it truly is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Elise basically told me at the beginning, like when we started working together, even I probably in our Akashic Records reading over a year ago at this point, that I have this like almost like psychic ability to be able to see my clients' potential through the media, through like a PR lens. And I would just be like, okay, whatever. That's like what all publicists do. And I just kind of ignored it. And I was told this over and over again. And from like different clients, I'm lucky that I'm in a spiritual space. So I have badass CEOs around me and they also can see shit. So, pardon my French. So anyway, for months that we were working together, she just kept reinforcing this ability that I had and just letting me know like this is a real thing. And then we did take a NEO assessment with Dr. Robin McKay, which is amazing. She also has an episode on Reclaiming Consciousness. Highly recommend. It's one of my favorites. Elise knows. And within Elise's program, she had her come in and give us personality assessments, which are like the top personality assessments. And within that, we were all just talking, and Dr. Robin McKay was like, Lydia, you know that you have this ability to like see entrepreneurs like their potential, and you are like a media matchmaker.